As you may have already heard, President Biden signing an executive order today called Buy American. And joining us now exclusively on Fox 2 is Pete Buttigieg, the Transportation Secretary nominee. And Mr. Buttigieg, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 2. For those who aren't familiar, what exactly does this Buy American initiative do?
So the basic idea here is that American taxpayer dollars should go to American goods made by American workers. Think of all of the things that are purchased by governments. For example, I'm nominated for the Department of Transportation. Think about all the equipment that goes into transit authorities, buses, road surfacing projects, you name it. There are requirements on the books to try to make sure that that's spent on American products. But frankly, there have been a lot of loopholes, and it was time to step that up.
Essentially, President Biden is tightening up the language on what it means to buy American. For someone here in Michigan, someone here in Detroit, what does this mean to them?
Yeah, this is especially important to Michigan because, like my home state of Indiana, and even more so in many ways, Michigan is at the heart of American manufacturing. So whether we're talking about vehicles, and we know how many vehicles are purchased by the federal government and other government agencies, or a lot of other things that maybe don't get as much attention but are made right in the Midwest, right in Michigan. This means more income, more opportunity, more sales, and that means more jobs for those workers who are such an important part of, in my view, not just the economic security, but the national security of this country. We've got to make sure we have the strongest possible industry to make the things Americans need.
Yeah, Mayor Pete, there are many people on the other side of the political coin who are supporters of the former president who said that he essentially was doing this his entire time in office. So what makes this different and what makes this change?
Well, the former president talked about this a lot, but these actions were just waiting to be taken. And so this is a chance to get serious about that Buy America idea. Remember, this order wouldn't have been required if it had already happened. But President Biden saw a need to tighten up the definitions, to assign the right authorities, to make sure that there's somebody in the Office of Management and Budget personally responsible for overseeing these Made in America provisions. This is something that the president talked about on the campaign trail. Now he's making good on that promise, and it should surprise no one that he's doing that right out of the gate in the very first days of his presidency.
Pete Buttigieg, nominee for Transportation Secretary. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. The nominee for Transportation Secretary for the United States, Pete Buttigieg, joins us now exclusively here on Fox 2 to talk a little bit about the Buy American initiative. The president, of course, signed this into an executive order today. The Buy American executive order essentially makes sure that the government is purchasing things that are truly made in this country. And Mr. Buttigieg, it's good to see you. I guess this is a lot to do with language, right, in terms of tightening up that language.
Yeah, this is really important. Sometimes the devil's in the details. You can have something kind of 99% manufactured, ship it to America, put it in a box, tie a bow on it, and say it was assembled here, or completed here, or finished here. We need to be a lot more serious about what counts as made in America. And that's part of what's in the details of this executive order. It sounds very technical, but the difference is in the billions upon billions of dollars. And more importantly, the difference can be measured in good-paying American union jobs.
All right. So, Mr. Buttigieg, you're a nominee for the Transportation Secretary. Transportation, you're talking to the Motor City right now. Tell us what makes you so excited about the potential of this position.
My hometown exists because of the American transportation sector. It was an automaking town back in the heyday of Studebaker, and in a lot of other ways, supply, aviation, so many jobs where I grew up were provided by the power of American transportation, but also just the way that the railway lines were laid out. That's part of why my city is where it is. And so I've seen firsthand the opportunity that gets unlocked by good transportation policy. And frankly, I've also seen the consequences of bad transportation policy when neighborhoods, which are almost always black and brown neighborhoods that didn't have the same level of political power, have been completely left out of transit planning, or when a highway comes and splits them in two. That's an issue too.
All right, Mr. Buttigieg, as someone who's very close to President Biden, you are there in the room. You've been talking to him. You know, you hear a lot about this president saying he wants to be the president for all people, not just those who voted for him. Talk about how that translates in terms of how he acts and how this administration is going to act.
Of course, he would love to earn the support of every American. But this is a country that has a lot of different people with different opinions and different views. That shouldn't diminish your claim on prosperity and opportunity in this country. That's where the president's heart is and has always been. And as we head into what we know is going to be a challenging time, actually delivering results, the bottom line is that for him, a successful presidency is going to be one that delivered for everybody. And he doesn't see red and blue states, he sees America. And I wish that and hope that that spirit catches on around here in Washington, because that's what it's going to take to really move our country forward.
All right, Pete Buttigieg, nominee for the Transportation Secretary for the United States. It's good to see you, Pete. Thank you for joining us exclusively here on Fox 2.